Welcome, everyone. How are you today? Hope you are well. We're diving in today on hopefully some deep thinking about habits. How are you feeling about habits these days when you take a look at life and you say, what are the habits? What are the routines? What are the processes? Just to observe them, bring awareness to them. Would you say pretty good or not so good, or it's a mixed bag? What do you say? Good morning. Welcome. Hope you are well today. Habits, so important. The thing about habits, do you feel this way? They can kind of fade into the background. If we're not really intentional, they can even kind of disappear. And so bring to the surface. Bring to the surface the awareness, the patterns. What are the things, the consistency that we are bringing to things? And I'm going to shape some of our thinking today with some more thinking from this book that I'm really enjoying, Atomic Habits. Are you familiar with that? Been flowing through some really great thinking so far. And today, I think we're getting into the core of the book, and I'm going to show you an image of the way that they frame habits. Let me show this to you. All right, so they show it here, the habit loop. 4 steps that we go through with all of our habits, how they form a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. And we flow through this cycle. Listen to how he describes it down here. These habit cycle best described as a feedback loop. They form an endless cycle that is running every moment you're alive. This habit loop is continually scanning the environment, predicting what will happen next, and trying out different responses and learning from the results. And then that reward, the reward, can feed back around and help us to appreciate the cues. So we're going to dive into this a bit here today and look at this and try to understand, okay, where are these things happening in our lives? Like I was saying, how are you feeling about the habits? Good habits, bad habits, both flow through this cycle. And so hopefully by understanding, by internalizing this framework, what we want to do, be able to unearth the habits in our life, to see them, be like, oh, I see there is a cue happening, right? Oh, I'm seeing this is a craving, right? It's driving a cycle. I'm responding to these things because some kind of reward, all right? Once you start seeing this, then you realize, oh, it's all over the place in life. And this is starting to give us the opportunity to say, how do we change, right? We've said, okay, change. We want to do it. It's one thing to talk about it, but you say, how, right? How do we actually go through processes to make things different? Right? We do things like this, right? We're increasing our understanding, building our awareness, and then intentionally moving toward it in a powerful way. He says here, our ancestors, right? If we think in the big, deep history of humanity, right? How things have been shaped, the way it is, culture, society, our very being. Our ancestors certainly paying attention to cues that signaled the location of primary rewards like food and water, right? Rewards in the body is like telling us like do more of that, right? Like eat more of that, gonna stay alive, right? It's just everything about the system reinforcing the basics. That was like survival, right? Most of human history, right? And it still is today. We got some different sort of context going on, but people were still trying to survive, right? We still got to eat. We are trying to stay alive. try to stay sane while we stay alive in the midst of the stress of the modern world, okay? But it's different today, right? Like we have a lot of buffers, right? There's a lot of food around, right? Our ancestors, like a lot of people living day to day, just trying to get enough food to stay alive. Every time I say that, I got to recognize still people on the planet today in the midst of all this abundance, still in that place. And we want to, use our fasting process. I always want it to be just very mindful. Help us to get into a space of compassion and camaraderie, with people who are less fortunate. Try to do everything we can to be helpful. Here's how he describes this modern moment that we have as we're thinking about how our habits form. We're spending most of our time learning cues that predict secondary rewards. Money, fame, power, status, praise, approval, love, friendship, or a sense of satisfaction. These he's calling secondary things. Does any of those light up for you? Are you dialing in on any of those? He says these pursuits really are like indirect routes back into core drives like survival, reproduction, the deeper motive behind almost everything we do, he says. Mind is continuously analyzing our environment for hints. Where might a reward be? A lot of what's happening in the mind is pattern recognition. It's saying, have we seen things before? Did we get a reward before? So these are the things that shape our behavior. And it's like, oh, I saw a pattern like this. I'm just kind of making this up. It's just like, oh, I saw something look like that's where the blueberries were, It's like you find something like that, like really good. That's like our brain keyed into that. It's like somewhere deep in there, we're still hunter-gatherers, right? We're looking, where are the good things that are going to be good to eat? Because the cue is the first indication that we're close to a reward, it naturally leads to a craving. This is a physiologic effect of this psychology, of this pattern. Do you see the cycle? I think, when we start to look at it this way, we can, because a craving can be so intense, right? Do you see where we're going in this sort of thing? Like, how do we get control of cravings? How do we understand these things in a real tangible way that helps us to change our experience? So many times, like, we have a craving and we just see it as its own thing, right? Like a craving is just this powerful force that is happening as its own problem. I think it's really great to just put it into its own little quadrant. See, to me, this is already taking something, right? An intense craving, can't it just feel overwhelming? Where he's like, you can feel powerless to do something about it. Okay, look, we're already putting it in a little box here. It's just in its little corner. We're starting to see it in the flow of this cycle. A cue happened because ultimately we want a reward, right? And as flowing through this cycle, the craving is part of the psychology. Do you see it? That the body is using to tie the cue because it learned in the past, oh, when we saw this, we might get this reward. The craving, do you see, developed internally in response to previous cycles, previous times around this loop that we went through, and we interpreted what happened as good. Craving is saying, I want that again. He says here, cravings are the second step. They're the motivational force behind every habit. Without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, we have no reason to act. That's so interesting even to think of that. Like, we think of craving, we think is the thing that keeps us stuck in the cycle. But here he's even describing craving is like a change, like from the baseline. It's like we're seeing the cue. It's like we don't have the thing. Like, that's the baseline. The baseline was we were doing okay, and then we saw the cue. Then the craving happens. We say we want to change. I want to go get that reward, right? Very interesting. Change always happening. This is what we have to see. What's the change we really want? What you crave is not the habit itself, but the change in state that it delivers. Really love this. Try to change the state. Just makes you ask deep questions. What was the state before? Do we really want it to change? Remember, we got into that thinking back in the fall, the automatic decision making. This is a big part of it, right? That we have practiced these cycles and we just flow through them without thinking. You do not crave smoking a cigarette if you're a smoker. You crave the feeling of relief it provides. You're not motivated by brushing your teeth, but you like the feeling of having a clean mouth. You don't want to turn on the television, you want to be entertained. So it's showing like there is a reward at these things, like just clicking the button. Okay, this is not what we want. Every craving linked to a desire to change the internal state. See, I double-lined that one because this is like a big thing that I'm trying to communicate on this channel about fasting in the mix of this. A way to really get at this internal state. We've talked about that mirror between fasting space, meditation space, open space in the body, open space in the mind. Both of these processes from different angles are opening up a space where we can get to somewhere deep. Our relationship with food, our relationship with almost anything, right? When we open up the space, we take away all the distractions. What comes into that space? That's how we're getting into that zone, the internal state, like we're saying. And a lot of times when we dig down in there, we find the internal state is not at peace, right? That we say, well, we are lacking contentment. We are lacking peace in that state. This is where a craving is coming from. Like when we really dig down, we say, I'm not okay here. I need something external to bring it in. Is it going to fix it? Right? But this is what keeps us in the flow. This is what I really want to help us do. Can fasting be a path? Find any path that you can. But I am telling you, fasting path is one way to sit into that space, get there and to say, actually, bringing the intention into this space, I am okay here. I don't need anything. This is part of how we can break out of cycles like this, but we're going to get to that. He says here, cravings can be different from person to person. Like for a gambler, he says, the sound of a slot machine be a potent trigger. Oh man, so that's triggering their cycle. To somebody else, it just sounds like a jangling, doesn't mean anything, you know. Cues and cravings are built from our experience. That's the thing. So as we start to see it, right, then, so this is another way to get more objective. Craving that you have, right, something experienced. Can you see that other people don't experience that, right? So there's another, way to kind of get out of our head a little bit and to see, oh, this has been internally constructed by my experiences and choices. Do you see that? And that opens up the possibility that it can change, right? That we can make a different choice. Third step is the response. We're flowing around. He's diving in on it here. The actual habit you perform. Response. Whether the response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. If a particular action requires more physical or mental effort than you're willing to expend, then you won't do it. Very interesting to think about our response. So our response can be shaped. Do you experience that? Sometimes, see, that's how, think how much we've talked in here about shaping our environment, all these things. If we're in an environment where the response is easy, more likely it's going to happen. For good or bad. and all this stuff ultimately delivering a reward. Hopefully, right? We say we hope. That's why we're going through it. Want some good thing at the end of it. Rewards the goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. We chase rewards because they serve two purposes. They satisfy us and they teach us. So isn't this interesting? Everything looking toward that rewards. Man, is this helping us to dial in our thinking, right? What are the rewards that we really want? Like if we are able to take a look at this whole flow through this cycle and say, wow, at every point we're constructing this flow through a cycle, and it's all about this. See, is this even something that I want? And what are the things that we want? And this is where this is really going to go. How do we shape each of these steps so that we're flowing in the direction of the things that we really want, and then we are not flowing in the direction of the things we don't? Especially like this, like you say, we're always wanting to feel better. Oop, it's hiding. Always wanting to feel better. He says earlier in this thing, I think there was a quote I underlined, that pretty much every habit is helping us to solve some kind of problem at some point in time. The trick is when the things that solved a problem for us at a certain time, when that pattern becomes a problem itself, like that's really what a bad habit is. First purpose of rewards, he says, satisfy the cravings. Rewards provide benefits on their own, like food and water. Okay, it delivers things we need to survive. Getting a promotion can mean money and respect. Getting into shape can improve health. But the more immediate benefit is the rewards you're the more immediate benefit is that rewards satisfy the craving to eat or to win approval. At least for a moment, and maybe it is only a moment, right? Rewards deliver contentment and relief from craving. That's describing a cycle of dependency, right? When we're not doing a thing for its own benefit, we're just trying to remove a craving, right? That sounds like, smoking a cigarette or opiate addiction or something to me. All addiction pathways flow through the same circuitry in the brain. People can develop compulsive dependency behavior just with anything. I was listening to a thoughtful addiction specialist talk about how they got addicted to buying rare music. Like they would visit record shops. They would look for these things. Like they just, people develop compulsion and things to anything. And then they feel so good. Oh, I found this incredibly rare thing. They just really got in a zone with it. Say most people wouldn't care about that. But everybody's got their thing, This I thought was interesting. Second, rewards teach us which actions are worth remembering. And this gets into the real primal level of it, right? Where we're trying to stay alive. Body's doing everything it can to just remember, hey, where's the good stuff? Where's the food? How do we find it, right? So we go through a pattern. It's like, oh, that worked. This is where so much processed foods really hijacks that, like the sweet and all these things primed in there. Very powerful. Feelings of pleasure or disappointments are part of the feedback mechanism that helps the brain to learn useful actions from useless. A reward completes the feedback loop, starts the cycle again. You get the positive reward, it reinforces the cue. So that's how we flow back around through it. I really like this section. Listen to this. If a behavior is insufficient in any of the 4 stages, it will not become a habit. Eliminate the cue, the habit will never start. Reduce the craving, you won't experience enough motivation to act. Make the behavior difficult, you won't be able to do it. And if the reward fails to satisfy your desire, you'll have no reason to do it again in the future. Without the first 3 steps, a behavior will not occur. Without all 4, it will not be repeated. How does that sound? Like, to me, that sounds encouraging. Like, if you're trying to break a habit, like, I think that's why, look how far we are through the book. Like, we're just like, you know, a 1/6 of the way. We dive in on this stuff, and to me, I'm saying you can see, okay, we can really dive into a space there to change it. Do you really want something to change? Have you written out what it is? All behavior driven by the desire to solve a problem. Oh, this is what I was saying before. Purpose of every habit is to solve a problem we face. He breaks this cycle up. The top half, problem phase. Bottom half, solution phase. And then he lists all of these problems and solutions. Take a look at some of these. Oops. This one I wanted to show you. Your phone buzzes with a new text message. You want to learn the context of the message. You grab your phone and read the text. You satisfy the craving to read the message. Grabbing the phone becomes associated with a phone buzzing. Right? Do you have a compulsion? Every time it's buzzing, just grab. Can't leave it be, right? It's like, wow, we got a habit there. Every time. This is how we get stuck in the phone. You're answering emails. You begin to feel stressed and overwhelmed by the work. You want to feel in control. You start biting your nails. It satisfies the craving to reduce the stress. Biting your nails becomes associated with answering emails. So this is just one person's thing. And you go through all these things. So he lists how we flow through these. You can make your own list of things like this. What are the cues you identify? What is the craving that it's really trying to do? How do you respond? And what reward do you get? And how does it build a cycle? You smell a donut shop as you walk down the street near your office. You begin to crave the donut. You know, as you're hungry, right? It starts this cycle. You buy a donut and eat it. You satisfy the craving to have something sweet, right? Buying a donut becomes associated with walking toward your office, right? So like people get definitely in a cycle like that. I can resonate with that. Yeah, here's one for our times, right? You hit a stumbling block on a project at work. You feel stuck. You want to relieve your frustration. You pull out your phone and check social media. You satisfy your need to feel relieved. Checking social media becomes associated with feeling stalled at work, which then super triggers the cycle, right? Because now you're on social media and you're scrolling and you're probably going to stumble a lot more, you know? It's tough. And I thought this one, it can be even anything so small, right? You walk into a dark room. You want to be able to see. You flip on the light, right? Now you can see. It's like, this is what we do. So that's not a bad habit. It's perfectly reasonable. So you can see, right, we flow through things like this in any area. I say write out your cycles. Like, do you have a habit that you're seeing? Do you see the good ones? Like, you can write out the good things through this. Like, turning on the light, that's a good thing, you know? I was like, but is there something you're trying to build? You could also do, what would it look like, you know, to program it in. This is where we go in this next section. Look at this. I love this table. How to create a good habit, how to break a bad habit. This is would do a lot of talking about this, I'm sure, in the future, right? So this is what he calls his like laws of habit change, whatever. You want to create a good habit, we got to have good cues. Make it obvious. I love that. This is the priming. See, we were talking about this in the fall. We want to prime every good choice. We've talked a lot about that. Make it obvious. And then deal with the craving, right? If we see cravings for things that are bad, we say we want cravings for things that are good. So that means something is attractive. Say we want it, right? We're wanting to take every good thing that we're trying to do and make it as appealing as possible. Absolutely. And then the response should be easy. If we are trying to have a good habit, we want to make it as easy as possible. Like the cliche thing that is coming to my mind, like you're trying to make it as easy as possible to get your exercise in for the day, take your walk. Okay, shoes and socks are like by the door. Walking clothes are out. Everything is done. The water bottle is there. Like everything you need, you set up so that when the moment is coming, that critical moment where it's like, oh, I could just go do something else. It's like everything's right there. As easy as possible. And then the reward, say, like, we think a lot, okay, doing the things, we want to do them for the good of its own self, right? But there was a section we read through there. Many habits, right, they have their own reward built in them. Eating food, right, is giving nourishment to the body. But most of what drives the eating is like the short-term thing, the pleasurable nature of it. Not necessarily the long-term fact that I got my vitamin B12, in there. Make it satisfying. Actually have a reward. You want to build good cycles for yourself? Have good rewards that kind of get that mental cycle flowing in the positive direction. And then you invert all of these things. That's what I like to do to break the bad ones. You got some bad habit, okay? Make it invisible. It's like we've talked about this a lot, right? Put the foods in the cupboards. You're trying to have a fasting space. You're trying to stop a snacking habit. Okay, make it invisible. If you have to look at the stuff all the time, it's like you're using up all your willpower bank, always having to say no, no, no. But we make it invisible. And then the craving, make it unattractive. The response, make it difficult to do. And like when we're in our right mind, you know what I mean by that? Our right mind, we're thinking, we're dialed in, we're saying, hey, I'm not going to do this. Are we putting barriers in place? It's like things that we don't want so that in that critical moment, like we say, we've made it a bit more difficult to do. I was reading once. Did you ever read Frog and Toad? I was reading Frog and Toad to my kids, when they were like 4 or 5 or something. And Frog and Toad are baking cookies. And the trouble is, once they baked the cookies, then they were going to eat them all. And they couldn't stop eating them, or one of them was. And then they're going through these things. I know what we'll do. We'll put the cookies up on the top of the shelf, and then we'll have to get a ladder out to go up and get them. Well, it's like one was explaining the other. And Toad, he was like, yeah, Frog was like, I'm going to put the cookies on the top of the shelf where you can't get them. He's like, but then I can get a ladder and just get the cookies and I'll still be eating them. And he's like, I know what I'll do. I'll put them in a box and tape it shut. And then you can't get in them. He's like, but then I could climb up the ladder with the scissors and cut open the tape. And it just goes on like that. But at least we're making it difficult, right? We're making it difficult. Make it unsatisfying. I'm guessing in this giant mass of words here that we're going to get in some hopefully really helpful ideas for actually doing that in a thoughtful way. We will, whether it's in here or not, I don't know because I haven't read it yet. I want to learn. We'll make our own either way. I'm definitely on board with it. I got my own things I'm working through. I will tell you, I do. Make it unsatisfying, everything we don't want. We don't want to reward ourselves at the end of a bad cycle. We want to build powerful, positive cycles, giving us every good reward for everything that is actually taking us in the direction we want. So how do you feel about this framework? I am loving this framework. I really am. It's I think you can see if you were with me in the fall as we were going through thinking fast and slow, the psychology is all the same. Like it's all the same sort of ideas as far as I can see. I think this is a more accessible way to explain it, you know? Thinking Fast and Slow, very high level, very deep book. And this, not that this isn't deep, but it is these graphs, especially little charts, very accessible, very easy to see and understand. Took a little deciphering for me to squeeze out some of these ideas from that other book. And here it's just laid out in a 4x4 table. Pretty nice. He concludes this section, which is kind of like the intro to how he thinks about habits. Have you ever wondered, why don't I do what I say I'm going to do? And then he lists all kinds of different things that people say they want to do. One of which is say, why don't I lose weight like I say? He says the answers to these questions can be found somewhere in these 4 sections. Cue, craving, response, reward. Got to dive into it. It says, use these tools to create a system in which good habits emerge naturally and bad habits wither away. Wither them on the vine. Love it. I want to do it. How about you? I want to wither away every bad habit. I want only the good ones to survive. Something I was watching the other day, it was talking about a jackpine tree, and it's got these hyper hard cones. They're sealed in this kind of wax that's super hard. These are the trees. Have you ever seen them? Inside of the cones, these cones might sit on the tree for years and years and years. They just sit there like rocks. The seeds only get released in the fire. The only thing that can open up this rock-hard cone, an actual fire will open up the thing. And then, and it's just timed such that this powerful shell is protecting the seeds from the fire, but it opens up just at the point when most of the fire probably burned away, and then it opens up and it drops those seeds right in this space where it has been cleared out by the fire, and it seeds the next cycle of the trees. And so when I was reading this, like, the bad habits are withering away, right? Making space for something new. The seeds are being planted right now. I say, hey, you're diving in with me here. We are diving into a difficult space. We are looking at bad habits, things in our life that we say we don't want. We're going to help to wither those away. Try to create the space from that. Like, we've used that analogy, right? Letting go of things that are not serving us. Watching the bad habits wither away. And that is clearing out space in our life for the good habits. Maybe it's habits that served us in a season. Something was helping us for a while, but like now we're kind of in a dependency cycle with it. Say, now it is not working. We're going to let go of that. Say, that was for a different time. That was for a different version of me that needed that at the time. But now we are moving in a powerful, different direction. This is the analogy with fasting that I want to bring in. Fasting is space. We're talking about creating space in our life. We want space for good habits to flourish. Fasting itself can be a habit. It's openness. It's showing us when we open up space, really good things can happen. I watched a friend of mine, who knows that I am slightly into fasting, sent me a video yesterday on the process of fasting in healing fatty liver disease, which is something I've seen quite a few times in my own medical practice. People come in, they've got the ultrasound, you can see fatty liver on it, and someone gets a fiber scan, all this sort of stuff. You can see people having damage to the liver. I've seen that a lot of times. You get on a fasting practice, you start giving space, body can use that energy, clear that back out. The liver, amongst all organs, able to regenerate itself and heal. It's just so incredible. So we give the body space and really good things can happen. I've heard sometimes people have said, oh, fasting, look at fasting. This is like, because we're sitting in a culture where there are diet fads. Have you noticed? People say, oh, intermittent fasting. This is like the latest dietary fad. I heard people would say that once or twice. And I'm like, really? Like, especially when I'm talking to other medical providers. I was like, look, you are a doctor, okay? Like, do you understand that there is physiology in the body? Like, let's just look at this. Like, you got a fatty liver, and then you open up some fasting space, and it triggers lipophagy pathways, specialized liver autophagy pathways, that can bust this stuff up and help the body to heal itself. Like, that just doesn't happen. You know what I mean? That's not a fad. That's physiology. You know what I mean? That's what I say. It's not a fad. That's physiology. Could we just talk about how the body works? Like about things that are true? Like, is it true, that if you open up fasting space, that you can heal fatty liver disease? It's true. I mean, it's just true. And do you see that in that space, that's just one aspect, that's just one part of the body? Autophagy pathways operating in every cell in the body. It's just profound. It is so profound. I don't think I have found the way yet to communicate what I see about it, which is that it is just totally profound. Who in medicine, who in society, who is a human being who thinks that we should pay attention to the body's ability to have healing within itself? Does that sound like a good idea? Like, it sounds like such a good idea to me. It's always kind of blown my mind that people are like, like maybe it's just a thing, Like, moving on, moving on. I'm like, no, I think we should sit with it for a while. Anyway, clearing out the space. There's so much value there. It's not the only thing. We don't fast forever. We don't even need a lot of it. That's what's such a miracle about it. That's why I say simple fasting. We don't have to fast like Moses in the wilderness, It's not like some crazy thing, There can be benefit to that. We talked about that the other day. We read the paper, 1963, Philadelphia Hospital, right? It's like people experimenting with this, finding healing from people, finding all kinds of healing. So amazing. And these pockets, even today, and we're going to look at some of that in the future, where people are using bigger levels of fasting. I think we can derive inspiration from that. We can learn about physiology in the body. But the main thing I want people to learn from it is to see, like, even in these larger fasting spaces, you see nothing bad happening to people when it's done in a thoughtful manner, nothing forced, no red flags, when energy is increasing and people feeling good and training and learning to do it. Even advanced fasting come to feel pleasant and amazing. So, like, how much more it just shows us on this end of the spectrum, simple fasting, that is just tiny bits. That's like, just have a coffee and chill out for a little bit. That even that little bit of space, the body can use it, This is the type of habit, when we're thinking about habits, I'm describing a cycle there that can be very virtuous, where we're getting rewards. We're like feeling better, doing things that we enjoy, and saying, hey, I'm like feeling good here. And this is building a cycle where we are saying, like, oh, I have a space here. It's the morning. I'm looking for a space of peace and contentment. Like, here is a fasting space. This is what we want to build. Like, that we'd actually want to do it. We say, like, man, this is flowing everything in a positive direction. Like, I really like the coffee. I like feeling good. I like the fasting space. Go through and we do it and we get the reward. We're like, oh, I'm feeling better. I don't have, whatever the things that we were dealing with. Low energy and bloating and sluggishness and things that, everything better. seeing the number on the scale go down ultimately, recognizing it's not a linear process. We're flowing through these spaces. We talked so much yesterday in that beautiful, open, reflecting space, like reframing a plateau to an actual mountain. Like, I love this analogy we're doing, climbing a mountain. Like, you climb up a mountain, you reach a plateau, like, at the top, okay? Hey, that's beautiful. We're looking out higher and farther than we have been, maybe ever, maybe in a long time. And then that's where we acclimate, consolidate, fortify. Nothing bad about it. Nothing bad. Not physiologic so much. Like, I've done it a lot, and we can do it. There is, of course, physiology happening in the body at any point. There's physiology happening in the body in a plateau. See, why am I doing certain things? Things aren't changing. What is happening? The real process of a plateau, a weight loss plateau, though, is mental and emotional. That's the real trick of it. And that's where we're going here. When we think of habits like this, we can start to see, oh, this cycle is flowing. We made a change. We've moved in a direction that's had a result. And now we're kind of in this space. How do we change from that point? We changed something to get to there. We walked up a certain part of the hill. Now we are preparing for the next leg of the ascent. We're getting to the top of Everest, a big mountain. That's the way I like to see it. How do you like it? What do you say? What do you think? I am going to keep flowing in this direction. Here we are Tuesday. Just a little heads up. We got Wednesday, Thursday, going to be doing some more dialing like this. Friday, I'm going on a little weekend ski trip. And so I'm going to be in the car driving to a ski hill on Friday. So I've been planning, like, well, what should we do in this space? Man, we're just like 4 months in on everyday weekdays. I've done it in the past where I record something, play it live. I have some ability to do that. And then the other thing I was thinking, I was like, I could just put it as a video and post it as a video. And maybe it is easier that way. Maybe it's more clear that way. I don't know. It's kind of weird to have like a live show and then like have the video where I'm not live. I don't know. The benefits would be, people could come in, still, chat, say hi. But we can do that on a video too, in the comments. And so if anybody has an opinion, let me know. Send me an email if you're coming through. Either put it in, and feedback of any kind. Man, oh man, do I want feedback. Are these sessions helpful to you? Do you wish they were in some other way? If you have good ideas, drz@simplefasting.com. There it comes. In the chat. Right now I'm leaning toward just posting it as a video. That's what I'm thinking. But we'll see. Okay, really nice to share this space with you. Hope you are doing so well. Have a beautiful day. Do some good thinking on habits like this. Where are you seeing the good habits? Where are you seeing the things that you're struggling with? Can you apply these frameworks to it? Help you untangle it. And any struggles you're having with it, come in. We'll have a chat about it tomorrow. Let me know. And we will keep taking steps forward in health. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon.